Pace yourself less.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Old school.
Going to be stolen, I think, by the doctor. Yes, he's got it. Ray rocked the baby to sleep and slam dunk.
Stolen by Bird and the cut to DJ. Yeah! Buckle up for Kobe Bryant.
New era.
Oh! A jawbreaker! Curry way downtown. Bang!
It's all basketball.
A spectacular move by Michael Jordan.
Lace 'em up. It's time for 1010XL's Open Gym. Leading the break, here's RJ Saunders.
And it is the basketball show for the basketball fan. It is Open Gym on the Superstation on what is the final weekend of the NBA regular season. Should be a fun Sunday. 15 out of the 20 seeds are still undetermined. So for a lot of these teams, it's simply win and in. Especially for the Orlando Magic, who, if they win today against the Bucks, they'll stay at the 5 seed, head on the road to face the Cleveland Cavaliers in their first round playoff series in the Eastern Conference. Back with me after being out last week, Casey Dobson. How we feeling?
What's up, bro? Guy. You know, I had to throw some up, into the air, bricks up against the back of the toilet.
I understand that.
Yeah, I had to get it out, Got to get that demon out.
Understand. Are you excited for playoff basketball, though?
I am. I'm thoroughly concerned for our Magic. Not looking good, but as long as you got a chip and a seat in the table, right?
Absolutely. As long as you have a seat at the table, you're hoping to keep the number 5 seat at the table. You could have obtained the 2 coming into this week. You've kind of been in a free fall. Before we talk about the Magic, I want to throw this out to you. Your way in on the show is through the text line 641-1010. Here is our question of the day. When it comes to this team, if you could only choose one number 1 to add to this team, who would it be? Penny or T-Mac? Who would be your number 1 that you would select to be the one for this Orlando Magic ball club? 641-1010. So this last day should be fun. 15 out of the 20 seeds still undetermined going into game 82. I don't remember the last time this happened. I think 2004. I'm going to give you a lot of Lakers content here. I'm sorry. I think 2004, Sacramento needed to defeat Golden State and LA needed to defeat Portland. And the winner would have gotten the Pacific Division crown. I think Sacramento lost to Golden State. Then Kobe had those 2 insane shots, one being a game-tying basket over Ruben Patterson at the top of the key in Portland. And Gary Payton inbounds to Kobe on the left wing. And just he throws it up, says a prayer, goes in. Lakers win that ball game. Win the Pacific Division. I don't remember something like this. And I got to tell you, these Orlando Magic players, they're about to give me a heart attack, man. Coming into this week, I think you needed to win 1 game at the time. And I believe at that time they were the 3 seed. You were, as I said, a couple games out of 2. You free fall. You've lost your last 3, including on Friday against the Sixers, 125-113. Now it's 1 game for your top 6 life against the Bucks, who reportedly are going to be without Giannis. Dame is probable for today's game. But check this out. You have to win. Basically, this has to go chalk. So Milwaukee is facing Orlando, Atlanta facing Indiana, Brooklyn facing Philly, Toronto facing Miami. If Orlando wins, Indiana wins, Philly wins, Miami wins, Orlando's your number 5 seed. And then you're facing Cleveland in the first round. So there's a lot of scenarios where you can keep the 5, but you have to win. You lose, you could drop as far as 8. After that, I don't know. I don't know how shell-shocked you become if you're the Orlando Magic when at one time you were thinking about possibly hosting an opening round series, the first 2 games. You can still host, but you'll be hosting via Game 3 and Game 4. If they are the 8 seed, and let's just say you play Miami in the first round, I don't like your chances. Then you possibly defeat either the winner of Chicago-Atlanta in that 9-10 series. But the winner of that game, you get the Boston Celtics. Not ready yet. Orlando, not ready yet. I think you could win a first-round series against Cleveland. We talked about this weeks ago. This is, it's been a wild week. It's been a wild week, and they're leaving me speechless. And Franz Wagner, he met with the media following the loss, and he spoke on his thoughts when it comes to now the top 6 playoff fate hanging in the balance.
A pretty cool scenario where we're definitely looking forward to it, and should be a fun game on Sunday. And obviously, it's great to do that back home. It's always a little bit more fun at home.
You are a better man than me, Franz. A much better man than me. My heart is beating fast now, and I'm not even playing. My heart is beating out of my chest. I would have been throwing trash cans following the loss because of the week we've had, dropping our last 3. Ripped out a couple urinals. I will give them this, though. Since Sunday, March 3rd, you've won 12 games. That's the good news. Bad news is you've lost 9. That 8-game homestand, good news, you won 5. Bad news, you lost to Golden State. You could argue that you should have beat Sacramento if the refs don't mess it up with whatever that call was that went in De'Aaron Fox's favor. But you also lost to Charlotte by 9? You lost to Houston? Was a 12-footer by DeAndre Ayton away, and you almost lost to Portland? Look, this is a young team. I have to give them that. That's something we have to remember as Orlando Magic fans. This is a young team, and a team that is certainly on the rise. They've hit a lull. I'm not losing hope yet. Not for a second. And I think this summer, they're going to add pieces that are going to help this team tremendously. However, let's get to Jalen Suggs real quick. This was after the win against Chicago. Here's Jalen Suggs, and he said something that I think highlights that this team just has a little bit more to learn.
It's so hard to stay locked in because I can't wait to play in the playoffs. I'm so excited. Just something that a lot of us have never experienced before. New opportunity for us all, and you have to get excited for that. It's impossible not to get, amped up, a bit nervous. All of those emotions and feelings, you should feel them because it's brand new. But I think just how much we gel and how close we are as a unit, I think calms everybody down, keeps everybody locked in at in the task at hand. I think, our OG's grandpa, Joe Ingles, for y'all who don't know, Gary, all of our quote-unquote vets, Kale does a great job of it, in keeping us grounded, after a great win or after a tough loss like the other night, to where we can stay steady, continue to close this thing out and get ready for what's ahead.
To me, you can't look that far. At that time, you do win against Chicago. That was a great win. I think the focus should have been on Milwaukee after that. Then you shift your attention to Houston. And you shift your attention to Philly. Then you shift your attention to Milwaukee again in this last game. But you gotta give it to them. This is a young team that's saying, listen, a lot of us haven't been to the playoffs. Paolo's in year 2. Franz is in year 3. We haven't seen this before. So to see that to the very least we're guaranteed a play-in spot, we handled that a few weeks ago, to where now we're a top 6 seed and we'll be in a 7-game series against whether it had been the Knicks or the Cavs, who it most likely is going to be, should you win this game today. You can kind of take your eyes off of what's in front of you instead of looking towards the finish line. But there's been a lot of factors that have gotten in the way of that, right? I mean, Paolo hasn't looked like himself. Either that or defenses are just throwing multiple bodies at him. I think it was the game against the Rockets. Did any of you guys on Twitter see that picture of 5 Rockets players surrounding Paolo? I don't think Franz played in. I think Franz played in that game, and he left early with an injury. You came out completely flat against Charlotte. Philadelphia, my goodness, they couldn't miss from downtown. They could not miss. However, when you were a team that essentially controlled your own destiny with all of this, with 1, maybe 2 wins, with the East looking the way that it looks, where the difference between a top 6 seed and the play-in was about 1.5, 2 games, have to handle business. And we said this once we started the show, and it was the second half of the year, and that 8-game homestand, they were going to wet the bed against a couple of teams. Some of these games, they are going to have to learn how to win. You have to give it to them. Your 3 top scorers on this Orlando Magic team are all 22 and younger, in Paolo, Franz, and Jalen. So a lot of games, sure, they are winning. But I don't know if any Orlando Magic fan at the time wants to hear that we're just focused on making the NBA playoffs. That's all we're focused on. We're just trying to get to the finish line and want to go to the playoffs and see that experience, which I feel is going to be an amazing experience. But I can be excited right now. You, the listener, can be excited now. Franz saying that this is going to be fun, whatever he has to say to psych himself out, whatever the team has to say. But now I feel it's time for guys like Joe Ingles, Wendell Carter Jr., Gary Harris, and the rest of the crew now to sit the marquee players down and say, listen, this is one game for all the marbles. Either we're facing Cleveland and that's our focus, or now we're making a road trip down the road to Miami, potentially, in a 7-8 matchup. And now we have to win 1 out of 2 games, 2 possible games, just to make the playoffs. Not what anybody foresaw. Lock in today. Defeat Milwaukee. Win. That is all. Then you can focus on Cleveland, which, to me, Cleveland doesn't scare me. They look like a team that's free-falling themselves. Questions about Donovan Mitchell. Is Donovan Mitchell going to be on the roster come next year? Could he be headed to Orlando? Does Orlando make a trade for him? Did they learn from last year? They got beat up by the Knicks, physically. Got beat up by the Knicks, and they couldn't handle it. Orlando, when they're at their best, one of the better defensive teams in the league. And coming out of the All-Star break, if you guys remember, the Orlando Magic go into Cleveland and win. Split the season series. I don't know, still, with Orlando free-falling, I don't know if there is any team that would like to face the Orlando Magic in a 7-game series. Because I feel like Jamal Mosley is going to snap these guys out of it. Once they get into the playoffs, know who you're going to face. And granted, they are going to make a few mistakes. here and there. I think Jamal Mosley will probably make substitutions the wrong way at the wrong time, being his first scratch as a head coach in the NBA playoffs. Every possession matters. I don't think Paolo will show up 100% of the time. I think he's going to do his best to show up 95, 97% of the time. This is Franz's first time in the playoffs. However, I will say, Franz, played in the World Games? He knows what it takes to be a champion. This is NBA basketball. This is a little bit different. Guys start to zero in and lock on you. And all we got to do is win 4 out of 7. But I'm excited, folks. I'm also excited about this. We have a sponsor now, MyBookie. And Casey, let's run it right now as they give us this quick segment.
This magic moment.
The magic moment is brought to you by MyBookie.
Experience the Vegas thrill from the comfort of your phone. Anytime, anywhere. Only with MyBookie.
The Orlando Magic are coming in as a 4-point favorite over the Bucks in today's game. Casey Dobson and I are going to give you a couple bets we are looking at via mybookie.ag. Casey, are you ready?
Yeah. Full disclosure, I don't do very good at betting, so we're gonna see. I actually picked one that has nothing to do with NBA too, so we'll see how it goes.
I will say that I am not good with betting either. I'm like Keanu Reeves in Hardball when he's outside of the bar with his friend and he can't look at the TV. That's me. Never gambled before in my life either. First, I'll give you my 3. Give me the under on 214.5, which is the over-under on today's contest. I feel this is going to be a great defensive game. Orlando's going to pull away. Also, give me the over for Paolo Banchero. 22.5 points is the number. I think Paolo is going to have a little bit of a coming out party, especially with no Giannis. And with no Giannis, I think Jalen Suggs is going to find himself wide open. Give me the over on 3.5 threes. I think he is going to get hot in this game when Orlando needs it most. Casey, what are you looking at, man?
So I got the Magic at under 5.
Okay.
I keeping it with the Magic and basketball. I got Franz stealing +2. Let's get some steals. Yeah, I found a little prop bet with that. Okay. And you know what? Let's go around the track. We got some NASCAR. Is it this weekend, NASCAR?
Is it?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. You tell me. So
you chose it.
Hey, I'm going to say yeah. And you know what? I went down the line and I was like, dude, I had a good friend growing up named Todd Rutherford. How about Todd Gilliland?
Okay.
At plus 40,000.
Ooh.
So place your bets on that kid. He's going to be doing things on the track for sure.
That is this magic moment brought to you by MyBookie and mybookie.ag, as well as their live casino that they have, where if a day to the casino has been canceled due to life, due to weather, you can now, from the comfort of your own home, continue that casino experience with their live casino. So this is an all Orlando Magic show in honor of the Orlando Magic having their final contest at home against the Milwaukee Bucks. I have my Orlando Magic little bracelet, hair tie on my wrist for good luck for the Orlando Magic. And we also have 2 Orlando Magic experts here to break down today's game and what they've thought about the Orlando Magic this year. We start off with Ryan the Hacker Green. You know him. You love him here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM with his show Hacker After Dark. And then we'll have Jonathan Osborne of the 6 Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast for the fans, by the fans. Going to be talking with us about what does he think Orlando's going to do this offseason? Who are the names that Orlando should be targeting to bring in this summer. But we start out with Ryan the Hacker Green on a final weekend of the NBA regular season. We are presented by MyBookie. This is Open Gym on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Here's 1010XL's new lineup.
We're sending you back to the future. Buckle up.
Dan and Jeff in the morning. Mike and Tony 10 to noon. Mia, Lauren and Taylor noon to 2. Joe, Matt and Leon 2 to 4. Frank and Hayes 4 to 6. And Rick and Hacker in the evening.
We invite you now to listen.
Now, a Masters update on 1010XL. Brought to you by Vaughn Motor Group.
From the Augusta National Golf Club, Westwood One Sports presents this special report on the Masters. I'm Ted Emmerich. The number one player in the world, Scottie Scheffler, is prepared. Prepared to win his second Masters in 3 years, and also prepared to leave the tournament should his wife, Meredith, go into labor 3 weeks before her due date.
Yeah, I definitely have a way to get home pretty quickly. And, yeah, we have somebody here that has access to their cell phone. That's all right. And yes, I'll be available to go home whenever I need to.
Yeah, for just about everyone at Augusta National, no phones are allowed on the course. More than likely, Scheffler won't be called home to Dallas and will focus on holding off Colin Morikawa, Max Homa, and the rest of the field. Scheffler 7 under, Morikawa 6 under, Homa 5 under. Scheffler tees off at 2:35 Eastern. You're listening to coverage of the 2024 Masters on Westwood One.
Remembering great moments in golf history, sponsored by Prevagen. Prevagen is the most recommended memory support brand by pharmacists. Annika Sorenstam took women's golf by storm in 1995 by winning Rookie of the Year and the U.S. Open, but 1996 solidified her status among the game's elite. Sorenstam won her second consecutive U.S. Open by shooting a then-record 8 under par 272. Sorenstam would go on to win a total of 10 majors in her Hall of Fame career. With this great moment in golf history, I'm Kevin Kugler.
Shop our best savings for spring during SpringFest at Lowe's. Right now, get a free leaf blower and select combo kits. And stock up on soil for all your gardening projects. Get 3 bags of 3/4 cubic foot Miracle-Gro garden soil free when you buy 3. Because Lowe's knows home improvement. Offers valid through 4/17. Compared to trimmer purchased separately. Blower and trimmer sold packaged together as combo kit. Includes 1 battery and charger. Miracle-Gro offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii while supplies last.
The final round of the 88th Masters is also Tiger Woods' 100th career round at the Masters. Woods fresh off his worst round at Augusta National at 10 over 82. He is 4 over through 8 holes today and plus 15 overall. Woods playing with Neil Shipley, a grad student from Ohio State who has a master's in data analytics. Shipley 1 under through 8, 10 over par. He'll be in Butler Cabin this evening to receive the Silver Cup as the low amateur. Who will be with him wearing the green jacket? Well, we checked the top of the leaderboard, sponsored by Prevagen. Prevagen is the most recommended memory support brand by pharmacists. It's Scottie Scheffler at 7 under, 1 better than Colin Morikawa. They tee off in about 3 hours. 28 of the last 33 Masters champions have come from the final group on Sunday. Max Homa is in the second to last group. He's 5 under, 2 back. He'll play with Ludwig Åberg making his major championship debut. Åberg 4 under, 3 off the lead. From Augusta, I'm Ted Emmerich, Westwood One Sports.
When you hear Florida Gators baseball on 1010XL, it's brought to you by Renewal by Andersen, the official window and door replacement partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Farah & Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars.
What's going on, y'all? It's RJ Saunders here. And I mean, we've all been there before. A weekend trip to the casino canceled because real life came calling. Well, MyBookie's new and improved online casino is here to change the game. Dive into a truly realistic casino experience featuring the latest in slots, progressive jackpots, and live dealer action, all from the comfort of your own home. I love the live casino. Just go to MyBookie and click Live Casino at the top. You'll find live dealers ready to deal or spin just like you're at the casino. The MyBookie Casino provides a Las Vegas experience where the action is in your hands, and you don't even have to wear pants. Start at MyBookie today with a generous sign-up bonus using the promo code 1010XL, and a revamped loyalty program ensures a host of exclusive VIP perks. So sign up and hit the casino with promo code 1010XL, because the more you play, the more you win. Only with MyBookie.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
1010XL and 92.5 FM. It is the open gym on the final day of the NBA regular season. Dropping gems within the gym is a very, very special guest and a guy that I hold near and dear to my heart. He has seen me from my infancy when I got into the business, and now as I continue to grow, he's still there every step of the way, and that is Ryan the Hacker Green. You hear him every night on 1010XL with his show Hacker After Dark, and he is a diehard Orlando Magic fan, and he is so kind to give us a couple moments here on the program. Hack, welcome to the gym, man. How are you?
RJ, I'm good, man. Thank you for having me on, and I've been listening every Sunday, man, and this show is great. It's probably long overdue to have an NBA-centric show on the radio station, and you're doing a fantastic job, brother.
Nah, Hack, I really have to thank you for that. I mean, the friendship that we've cultivated over the years, and as well as me looking at you as one of my biggest mentors since I've gotten into this business 5 years ago. It's always a pleasure having you on, and I always love our basketball talk, so this is really a treat for me. So when we talk about this Orlando Magic team, what have been your thoughts on the team this year? I mean, this was a squad that clearly wasn't looked at as a team that would have the success that they have had this year. You maybe thought they'd get into the play-in, but not necessarily the playoffs, but they're certainly surprising the league, and it seems like they're only getting started here. What have been your impressions of the team this season?
Honestly, they're probably a year ahead of schedule. I mean, you look at what they've done since they hired Jamal Mosley, and the rebuild really began 3 years ago. From 22 wins to 34 wins last year, and this year they've doubled their win total, more than doubled their win total from where they were just 2 calendar years ago.
Right.
So it is pretty impressive. And when you also consider, RJ, man, I mean, only 2 guys on the roster are 27 years old or older. Of course, Joe Ingles and Gary Harris. Everybody else is 26 and younger,
Right.
which is shocking when you think of Jonathan Isaac and Mo Wagner and Wendell Carter. Guys that have played a ton of basketball are still very, very young in their NBA careers.
Absolutely, and you bring up 2 points here that I want to touch on, and I'll start with Coach Jamal Mosley, and then we'll get to the youth of the Orlando Magic team a little bit later in this interview. What have been your thoughts on Coach? When he first got the job, I remember you and I talked about it here at the studio, and I have to admit, I didn't know a lot about the guy. I thought maybe Kenny Atkinson would be a better fit. I also tried talking myself into saying, hey, Becky Hammon may have been a good fit for what she had done in the summer league with the San Antonio Spurs one year, but you can see he's really put his identity on this team. They play for him. We've had Dante Marchitelli come on the program and say that all the players that have been on this roster do not want to let Coach down. What have been your thoughts on Coach Jamal Mosley since he's gotten the job with the Orlando Magic?
The one thing I knew about him, and truthfully I didn't know much, but the one thing I did know from his time as an assistant with the Dallas Mavericks is Luka Doncic loved him, all right? And if Luka Doncic loves you, that's good enough for me.
Absolutely.
So I was pretty excited when they brought him in. And truthfully, year one, you know, look, they stripped it down. I mean, this was a bare bones operation just 2 calendar years ago. I mean, they were assembling talent, but Franz Wagner was a rookie. Jalen Suggs was a rookie. Paolo Banchero hadn't arrived on the scene yet. So there were a lot of things still to figure out. But you saw kind of the development, right? The team battled and they played hard, even though they lost 60 games.
Right.
And I go back to last year. Last year when they were eliminated from the playoffs with about 2 to 3 weeks left, man, again, they played really hard. Most teams will, quote-unquote, tank for lottery position. Right. Orlando didn't do that. Orlando tried to win those remaining games. That, to me, told me a lot about the culture of this team, and that has obviously propelled them into where they are now. Again, doubling their win total from 2 years ago, and they're guaranteed at least a play-in spot, depending on what happens here in the season finale against Milwaukee coming up this afternoon.
Ryan the Hacker Green, our guest. He is the host of Hacker After Dark. You can hear that weeknights from 8 to 10 on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. So as we shift our attention towards the young group of the Orlando Magic, Paolo Banchero, without question, is the face of this team, and he was named an all-star, but he hasn't been looked at by the national media as one of the top guys in the league. I think The Ringer, I looked at one of their articles, and they don't even have him listed as one of the top 30 guys within the association. For a guy that's averaging just a little bit over 20 points a night, was Rookie of the Year last year. Year 2, he's named an NBA All-Star. You would think that the story would be different for him when it comes to the major media speaking about the next wave of talent in the NBA.
Oh, I agree. I mean, if they don't have him in the top 30, that's absolutely ludicrous. And, RJ, there's a lot of parallels between the Jaguars and between the Orlando Magic, you know.
Right.
Two suffering franchises, two very loyal fan bases, and two teams that don't get covered very well outside their regional or local markets. And both teams would apply there. Back to Paolo, I was wrong. I was a Jabari Smith guy. You and I had that conversation. Yeah, when you were out in Houston, I was a Jabari Smith guy. And when Orlando drafted Banchero, I remember on draft night, I was like, oh, my gosh, what are they doing? I have never been so happy to be wrong in my entire life. They've got a stud. They've got that dude. You always want to draft that quote-unquote dude at number 1, and Orlando has done that for a guy that's, 21 years old?
Right.
I think he just turned 21, and to do what he's doing is absolutely incredible. And there's still a lot of room to grow. He still is, he turns the ball over a lot. There's still issues in his game. But, man, when he's good, he's really good. And the Orlando fans have to be salivating, 2, 3, 4 years down the road if he keeps developing what he and Franz Wagner could potentially become.
And I want to stay on Franz Wagner here for just a moment because there was an interesting stat in which I read just a couple of days ago that teams in NBA history that have recorded 45-plus wins and their top 3 scorers all being at age 22 or younger, the only squad to accomplish that feat in the association is this year's Orlando Magic team with Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, and Jalen Suggs. Now, we could talk about Jalen Suggs ad nauseum and how important he's been to this franchise as well as the squad this year, but what have been your thoughts on Franz Wagner and he being that complementary piece to Paolo Banchero?
I love Nik Vucevic. I love everything about Nik Vucevic. He was one of my top 10 favorite Orlando Magic players of all time.
Right.
But thankfully, Chicago agreed to that trade because the only reason Franz Wagner is in Orlando is because of the Vucevic trade. Orlando got Wendell Carter, by the way, in that trade, and a couple of first-round picks. And one of those first-round picks turned out to be Franz Wagner at number 8. Nothing against the 7 guys that were taken ahead of Franz Wagner a couple of years ago, but I think he was the best player that was drafted in that draft. He is absolutely sensational. And again, he's 21 years old, right? He's just starting. Yeah. He and his brother Mo helped Germany to a World Cup basketball championship last summer. I mean, the guy he's a winner, man. And you can see he hasn't played the last couple of games, and you can see the effect that had on Orlando with him not being in the lineup. But Paolo gets all the love, and with good reason, but man alive, I think Franz Wagner is every bit as important. And you mentioned Jalen Suggs, quickly to him, RJ.
Yeah.
We talk about big threes, right? We talk about, obviously, LeBron, Bosh, and Wade, and there's different incarnations of big threes. I'm not sure how many quote-unquote big threes have all been developed in-house, meaning drafted by one organization.
Right.
Boy, Banchero, Wagner, and Suggs have the potential to be a big 3 in Orlando, all in-house guys for a long, long time to come.
Final couple of moments with Ryan the Hacker Green. He is the host of Hacker After Dark, and you can listen to that weeknights from 8 to 10 on 1010 XL. So we've talked about the team from a macro level, but now I want to zero in on you, Hack, as an Orlando Magic fan. I mean, you went through the Shaq and Penny years, and they go to an NBA Finals. They lose to Akeem. Then you had the McGrady years, and unfortunately, that didn't pan out the way that many hoped that it would, just because Grant Hill was dealing with his fair share of injuries, and during that time, they weren't able to put the cast of characters around McGrady that would have been needed to compete in the East and win an NBA championship. Dwight takes the Orlando Magic to the NBA Finals in 2009. They lose to the Lakers. Then you have a lot of downtime there. However, Orlando's now turned it around, and they're on the come-up. As a fan, how does it feel to you to see your team accomplishing what they're accomplishing, not only this season, but it looks like for seasons to come?
I mean, I'm on cloud nine. I mean, Orlando was in the black hole of the NBA for 13 out of the last 15 years.
Right.
It has been awful, really, since Dwight left. And, in fact, the 2 years they made the playoffs, I think they won one game against Toronto. They one game against Milwaukee. They have, like, 2 playoff wins in the last decade.
Right.
So having them get to the mid-40s and win already, and we haven't even gotten to the postseason yet, getting back into the postseason, it's been so much fun. It's been so rewarding. Will it be disappointing when the season comes to an end? Yes, but I keep telling people, this is not a one-off. This is the beginning. Banchero, Wagner, and Suggs, like you mentioned, are all 22 or younger. The team itself has only 2 guys that are over the age of 27. They have the ability to add free agents. What you've seen this year in Orlando with doubling their win total in just 2 calendar years, you should expect to be the norm moving forward as they add more talent, as Banchero, as Wagner get more experience. And keep in mind, we haven't really even seen Anthony Black very much.
Right.
We haven't seen hardly any of Jett Howard.
Right.
Jett Howard was a beast in the G League, the other first-round pick.
Yes.
And Orlando has 2 first-round picks coming up in 2025. One of them is the Denver Nuggets pick. It probably won't be a great selection, but they're going to have 2 more first-rounders in the 25 draft. So, RJ, it's just the beginning of what could be a very nice run down there for the Orlando Magic.
I'm a Los Angeles native. The Lakers are always going to be my number 1 team. However, since moving to Florida and talking to guys like Dante Marchitelli, Kendra Douglas, Jeff Turner, and others, the Orlando Magic have without question become my second favorite team. I am so glad to be a member of the Orlando Magic fan club, and especially when I'm able to talk Orlando Magic hoops with Ryan the Hacker Green. He is the host of Hacker After Dark. You can hear that weeknights from 8 to 10 on the Superstation, 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Hack, it has been a pleasure talking to you. Hopefully we can do this again once the playoffs come around shortly.
RJ, you're the man. Great job with this show, buddy. Anytime you need me, just give me a call.
Absolutely.
There's something that binds us all. The constant hunger to improve. The obsession with every detail. And the reward of a custom fitting taking your game to a whole new level. We're all bound by 2 words said by golfers worldwide. Schedule your fitting at Edwin Watts Golf Shops. Find your local store at worldwidegolf.com. Get there.
When they were little, the other girls played with dolls.
Aww.
They played with footballs.
Who's that? Yes, it's us.
Helmets and heels.
From the First Coast Lighting Studios at 1010XL.
Weekdays noon to 2.
Some girls have all the fun.
May I have your attention, please?
Get ready for 1010XL's new primetime lineup. Start the day with Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser. Dempsey and Fat Tony take you to noon. It's the ladies of Helmets and Heels until 2. XL Primetime follows at 4. Frangie and Carline drive you home. Then Baloo and Hacker take you into the night.
It's showtime! Attention all business owners. The raining season is coming and it's important to ensure that your property storm drains are free from debris and functioning properly. That's where Duck Duck Rooter comes in. Our powerful VACCon truck can effectively clean out your storm drains and prevent costly damage to your property from flooding. Don't let clogged storm drains ruin your business and reputation. Call Duck Duck Rooter today to schedule a cleaning before the rains hit. 904-862-6769 or online at duckduckrooter.com.
Bring your guns and bring your hoses, and we're ready to put up some punches. It's Guns N' Hoses Charity Boxing. It's back. It's that time. Bell time. In fact, 6:30, Saturday, April 20th. Join us at UNF Arena. Dan and I there for the 1,000th year in a row. It is so much fun, this charity boxing, and it's serious, and it's fun, and it's impactful, and you're going to have a great time. By the way, street party before and after the event. Make it a day. Saturday, April 20th. Bell time, 6:30, UNF Arena. Guns N' Hoses.
Bet on the ball
game. Get your money down. Money lines, totals, and parlays, where cash and tickets all around.
It's baseball betting season, and VSiN's MLB betting guide is a home run for bettors. Download your free special edition of the guide, featuring a betting preview of the Atlanta Braves and Tampa Bay Rays at 1010XL.com. That's 1010XL.com.
Trivia enthusiasts, Tuesday night is your night. Gather your team and join us at Players Grill in Mandarin or Miramar for the ultimate trivia showdown. It's a whole lot of fun every Tuesday starting at 7 p.m. Are you ready to prove you're the trivia champions? Players Grill, where the neighborhood meets.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Back to the action on Open Gym on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM, it is the Open Gym. So glad you're here with us on what is the final day of the NBA regular season. 15 out of the 20 seeds are still undetermined going into Game 82. So today is must-watch basketball if you are an NBA fan. Thank you so much to Ryan the Hacker Green for joining us earlier in the program. Now, dropping gems within the gym is Jonathan Osborne. He is the co-host of the Six Man Show. It's an Orlando Magic podcast. You can follow him on X at J_Osborne21. And I really enjoy what we do here on Open Gym here in Northeast Florida, getting these experts to talk about the Orlando Magic and what's going on with that franchise, and we'll be continuing to do that once we get into the playoffs. But I highly encourage that you also lock in to the Six Man Show, and Jonathan and Luke do an incredible job with their podcast, and I am so honored and grateful to have Jonathan on the program to give us a couple moments to talk about the final game against the Milwaukee Bucks for the Orlando Magic. Welcome to the gym, Jonathan. How are you?
Well, first of all, really appreciate the intro and gassing me up there. But no, RJ, I'm doing really well, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely, man. And before we get into the Orlando Magic team this season and the rough week that they've had going into this contest against the Bucks, I asked this question to the listeners and want to get your perspective on it. When it comes to this year's team, which number one would you rather have to add on to this ball club? Tracy McGrady or Penny Hardaway?
I'm going to have to go with Tracy McGrady. Okay. That's my guy. Growing up, that was my basketball idol. He was the reason that I fell in love with the game of basketball. And, you've got, guys in Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner that can really handle the ball. And I just feel like a guy with that type of scoring prowess and Tracy McGrady, a guy that could make a bit in his own right. I would love to see, and especially, he kind of fits the Jeff Weltman mold,
absolutely
positionless, the size and the length and everything like that. So as much as I love Penny and he'd be fantastic on this team with those guys, I'll have to go with my guy T-Mac.
Tracy McGrady, the NBA Hall of Famer, Orlando Magic grade, possibly the next Orlando Magic player to get his jersey number retired in the Kia Center. All right. We have gotten the lovey-dovey, mushy stuff out of the way and reminisced about one of the greats of all time. Now let's get to this year's team. They've dropped their last 3 games, and now they got to win this one against Milwaukee in order to stay out of the play-in. How nervous are you, if at all, about this Orlando Magic ball club's chances today?
My anxiety level has been growing over the past couple of weeks here as the team has dropped their last 3 in a row. I think it's 4 out of their last 5, even going back to one of their most recent wins against Portland. They just really didn't look all that great. The team, eerily seems pretty calm. You look at Franz Wagner after the loss, what was that,
right,
Friday night to the 76ers, and he's talking about how it's a pretty cool situation to have the ability to clinch at home in front of the fans, which I appreciate that sentiment, but it's not exactly what you want to hear when you've gone into really each of the last 3 games here with all you have to do is win a game and you clinch the playoffs for your team, and now you're hoping that you're able to pull out this final game of the regular season at home against Milwaukee so that you don't find yourself in the play-in. So I'm a little bit nervous. This game against the Bucks, they're not going to have Giannis.
Okay.
They may not have Chris Middleton as well, but Dame Lillard and Bobby Portis killed us last week.
Right.
But yeah, I'm hoping these guys they raise up to the occasion a little bit. They looked a lot better Friday against Philly defensively than they have these last handful of games. And that's what it's going to take. They're going to have to be really good defensively. They're going to have to get offensive contributions, obviously, from Paolo and Franz. They're going to need some help from Jalen Suggs, Mo Wagner, Cole Anthony. All those guys are going to have good games as well. But even if they don't, even if they lose to Milwaukee and they end up in the play-in, you've got 2 chances to win 1 game.
Right.
If you're in the 7-8 game, it's probably going to be against Miami. If you end up having to play the winner of Atlanta, Chicago, I like our odds there. But just take care of business on Sunday, and you don't have to worry about that. You punch your tickets to the playoffs.
Jonathan Osborne, our guest. He is one half of the Orlando Magic podcast entitled The Sixth Man Show. So I get it that this young ball club has had their troubles this week, dropping their last 3 games, as we have spoken about. However, many forget that this is a team that just not too long ago was in the mix for being the 3 or maybe even the 2 seed going into the playoffs. However, you don't see the national media giving this team the credit that I feel that they deserve. Why do you feel that is, in your opinion?
I think it's one of those things that you just have to earn. The Magic have not really been part of the national conversation for the better part of the last decade, at the sort of post-Dwight era. You go back to, the 2009, 2010 seasons, like ESPN was constantly in the Orlando Magic building. The Magic were constantly being talked about on ESPN as one of the best teams in the league. When you're one of the best teams in the league with one of the best players in the league, like the Magic had in Dwight Howard at the time, you get talked about. That's just really the nature of the business there. Obviously, teams like New York, Chicago, the Los Angeles Lakers, the Boston Celtics, always going to drive the most views, always going to drive the most clicks. And the Magic are on the rise. A guy like Zach Lowe from ESPN has given the Magic a good amount of shine this season. And recently, as we're talking about the All-NBA, All-Defensive voting that's going to be happening, he's been talking about Jalen Suggs, talking about Jonathan Isaac a ton. So I think, it's one of those things that you have to earn. Is it frustrating as a Magic fan? Absolutely, especially when those outlets do decide to talk about you when they don't exactly shine you in the proper light. That can be a little bit frustrating. But I do think that the Magic's time, once again, in the spotlight is coming, and a big performance in the postseason here in a very competitive first round, maybe even winning a first-round series would go a long way with that.
We talk about the Orlando Magic here, and they're going to be wrapping their season up here momentarily, and then they're going to shift their attention towards the NBA playoffs, and you hope that they have a deep run this postseason. However, I feel that this offseason is going to be a big one for them. I mean, they're going to have a lot of money at their disposal this summer, and there's been a few names to be rumored around as far as who the Orlando Magic could target. Klay Thompson's been a name that you've heard half the year. You're also now seeing in recent reports Malik Monk could be a guy that they go after. They may take a big swing and go after a guy like Donovan Mitchell to be that 3rd guy in the Orlando Magic grouping of Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. If the franchise were to come to you and say, hey, give us a couple of names that you think we should target this summer, give me a few names that you would give to them.
Yeah, there's a couple of different angles I think that you could look at this from. Do you believe that Jalen Suggs can become the number 1 point guard for this team? Is he a guy that is going to be able to facilitate and create for others as well as go and get his own bucket? There's been questions about, Markelle Fultz and Wendell Carter Jr. this season and just their durability, and are those guys going to be long-term options? I also think you need a lot of shooting. You need to add shooting to this team. That's become really apparent in the last couple of weeks especially. some of those guys that you mentioned, if it's, Klay Thompson, a guy who used to be, one of the best two-way players in the league, is a guy that with all the injuries seems like, he's become a little bit bitter, understandably, in Golden State, and a guy that used to be, one of the very best players in our league. Is he a guy that maybe just needs a change of scenery, with his championship level experience, what he can bring to a locker room and to a young team. If he's willing to buy in and the Magic are willing to buy into him for the right price, I don't know if I would hate that pick, but it does have to be the right match for both parties there. A guy like Malik Monk, is he looking for maybe a little bit of a bigger role than what he's had in Sacramento, mostly coming off of the bench there? Again, if it's for the right price, that's a guy that is going to give you instant offense, is going to be able to shoot the cover off the ball. A guy like Tyus Jones, who a lot of Magic fans were targeting around the trade deadline, he's a guy that's expiring and has been one of the league leaders over the course of the last few seasons in assist-to-turnover ratio for a young team that has trouble taking care of the basketball. Is that a guy that you want to look at? We talk about Wendell Carter Jr. Is he the future of the team at the center position? I look at a guy like Nick Claxton, who's going to be a free agent this year, who does have some question marks there as well. But could the Magic use a real rim protector and a real vertical threat? I think maybe they could. So those are some guys that I think they might be willing to take a look at this summer. And, just trusting that Jeff Weltman and Anthony Parker are going to, push the right buttons, pull the right levers, and get the right guys in this building for this team to take the next step next year.
All right, Jonathan, before we let you go, tell our listeners here how they can keep a hold of you as well as the Sixth Man Show and the other great things that you guys have going on down there in Central Florida.
Absolutely. So we release podcasts every Monday, every Thursday, wherever you get your podcast, on YouTube as well. We also host a post-game live show on YouTube following every single Magic game. You can find us at youtube.com/The Sixth Man Show. You can find us all across social media at Sixth Man Show. And, RJ, really, really appreciate you having me on here. Let's get this win against Milwaukee, and we'll probably see them in the playoffs if we're able to pull that off. And I'm just looking forward to playoff basketball back in the O here.
Absolutely. That is Jonathan Osborne. He is the co-host of the Sixth Man Show and Orlando Magic podcast. Make sure to follow him on X at J_Osborne21. Jonathan, thank you so much, and hopefully we can do this again by the time the playoffs roll around here.
Definitely, RJ. You just let me know. I'll be here.
There he goes. Jonathan Osborne. Great insight there by Jonathan. Love what he and Luke do with the Sixth Man Show. Also, thank you to Ryan the Hacker Green for joining us in that previous segment to give us all of the insight with the Orlando Magic and how they have done this year. Are any of our Orlando Magic fans out there nervous about today's game? It's simple. Win and you're in. You avoid the play-in altogether. If it's any consolation, the Orlando Magic's record in Game 82 when entering the game with 45-plus wins, 9 wins, 1 loss. Hopefully the Magic can keep themselves clear of the play-in with a win today. We are presented by MyBookie. For Casey Dobson, I'm RJ Saunders. Enjoy your Sunday. We'll talk to you next week when the playoffs roll around.
Fish are good at hiding.